Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Leke and I'm a chess enthusiast and I love to play chess. I've been playing chess for over 7 years, and in these 7 years I've learned so much. I could say in these 7 years I've played chess almost every day, reviewing over 90% of all my games. And on this channel I've made it a goal to share with you all that I've learned in these 7 years. And I'm going to be sharing with you these things through my own games that I play or that I've played either recently or that I'm going to play in the future. I like to walk you through my games and walk you through my thinking system, why I made certain moves, and what you should be doing in your game. So if you're new to chess, this is the channel where you need to be subscribed, because I'm going to be posting and uploading videos regularly to share with you what you should be doing in the opening, in your middle game, and in your end game. What should you do in different scenarios? You know, there's a way to think. Chess is a thinking pattern. There's a way to reason in different positions. I'm going to be sharing with you these things, and I'm hoping that you're going to grow through these videos and that we're going to grow together. So if you're new to this channel, please turn on the notification button, and most importantly, subscribe to my channel. Turn on the notification button so that if I drop any video, you will be alerted. And also share the video and also like the video, because this is going to go a long way in encouraging me to post more content like this. Okay, great. Let's get into the video. So this was a game that I played yesterday, I think, on chess.com, and my opponent is a strong player. I think he's a 2000 plus player, and I'm playing as white. And I start off with c4. So with c4, this is called the English Open. What was I trying to do? Well, I know the most common opening is e4 and then d4, but I start with c4 because most times you find that it kind of throws your opponent off. They are not sure how to respond, and because of that, they end up making some opening mistakes. Now, I'm not saying this is going to definitely happen in your games. You might face a really strong opponent, and your opponent knows in and out of his openings, and you're not going to get an advantage out of the opening. But then it's always good to play something that might catch your opponent off guard every now and then. So I start out with c4, and my opponent responds with knight to f6. And this is a very good move, because here you're kind of playing a waiting game, looking for what white is going to do while developing your pieces. What do you want to do in the opening? You want to control the 4 squares. If you see my cursor on the screen, these are the 4 squares you want to control in the opening. You want to control d4, e4, d5, and what? And e5. So it's good that in developing your pieces, you're looking to control the center. Never allow your opponent gain the control of these 4 squares, because they're likely going to gain the control of the game. So I proceed by playing my pawn to the center. Now, it's always important to play out the pawns in the center, and by that I mean c4, d4, and e4. The pawns in c2, d2, and e2 are very important to play out, because they kind of give room for your bishop, your 2 bishops to be developed, and then it also means that your knight is not going to be stuck. Your knight is not going to be developed with your pawn stuck behind your knight. Say for instance, I play something like this. Now, in some openings, this is okay, right? But then you can see that here my knight blocks the pushing of my c2 pawn. So I can never use this c2 pawn to control the center. I can never push it to c4 at any point. So that's why you always want to push these center pawns first before developing pieces behind them. So let's go back to the position. My opponent responds with e6. Now you can see, what do you see? Whenever your opponent makes a move, okay, you want to ask a question. With that move, what does it help my opponent do? With the last move my opponent has made, what does it help him to do? So this move is a preparation to be able to play out his bishop. So his bishop is now in some sense developed. He could play it to e7, he could play it to b4 and then castle. So once you've already kind of absorbed this information and you're like, okay, what's the threat? What's the threat of my opponent? Now the threat is that the bishop could come to b4 and deliver a check on my king, and I could just, you know, defend that with my knight to c3. Now I know some beginners don't like for any of their pieces to be captured, so immediately they see this, rather than develop, they go and play a3. They're trying to stop this, but you're just wasting time, because no matter how you try, your pieces are going to be captured at some point. So the thing is, you need to know what pieces do you want traded and what pieces do you want to keep till the end game. So I'm not going to waste my time playing a3. I'm just going to develop. What you want to do is to have rapid development toward the center. So I played knight to c3. Now he plays towards the center. Perfect move. Now you see it's already challenging this pawn. And what do you want to do? The normal way to play would be to just play e3 defending that pawn, or play b3 defending that pawn. But I'm going to give you the drawbacks of both moves. If you play e3 here, you block the path of your bishop to develop. Now I play this at times, right? And it's not bad. You can see on the engine the position is still about equal, but then you get this bishop stuck behind your pawns, and this becomes a bad bishop, and you need to be careful. It might be a bad bishop for the whole game, because if your opponent plays rapidly, you might not have the time to develop this bishop till the end of the game, and that might just be the reason why you lose. But at this point it doesn't mean much. So, but if you play b3, that's even worse. Already you're allowing your opponent to control the game. It's dictating the tempo of the game. You say, how? Because now you're responding to his move rather than play your own moves. At the start of the game, at the opening, you want to develop your pieces rapidly. So if you play b3 to defend c4, number one, you've lost the opportunity to develop a piece. So you've lost tempo. And number two, you've weakened this knight. There's nothing defending this knight anymore. You've pushed the pawn that was defending your knight on c3, and he could just play this. And then your next move again will be to respond. So let's say you respond, and now he plays this. You can't take because your knight is pinned to your king. You see, quickly you're getting in trouble. So that's why you should, if you're going to move any pawn in the opening, it has to be for the purpose of developing a piece. What do I mean? Let me repeat that. The purpose of moving your pawns in the opening is so that your minor pieces may be developed. What are your minor pieces? Your knights and your bishops. Those are your minor pieces. And your major pieces are your rooks and your queen. Generally, in chess, your knights are worth 3 points, your bishops worth 3 points. Generally, your rook is worth 5 points, and your queen is worth 9 points. So, by value of material, you know that your queen is the most important piece, aside the king, followed by your rooks, followed by your bishops and knights. Okay? So, why do you push your pawn in the openings? To develop your minor pieces. Why did I push c4? Because I wanted to play my knight to c3, and if I didn't push c2 to c4, my knight will be stuck, my pawn will be stuck behind my knight when I finally develop my knight. That's why I push c4. So what do you do here? Well, what did I do? I simply go on with my development, playing towards the center. I play knight f3. Then he plays that good move, supporting his center. Now I'm preparing to fianchetto my bishop. Now by fianchetto, we mean putting your bishop on this diagonal. Your bishops are strongest on the diagonal. Look at this, is the longest diagonal. These two diagonals, can you see my cursor? These are the longest diagonals on the board. If you can get your bishop there, later on in the game it might become very important, because if your bishops are on that diagonal, it controls so many squares. So here I decide to fianchetto my bishop. It develops, very good move. I continue. Develops his bishop to the center. Very good moves. My opponent is playing really, really good moves. And I castle. Now, when is the middle game? The middle game starts when you've been able to develop all your pieces from the back rank and your rooks are connected. So as it stands here, the middle game is not yet. Why? Because you still have my bishop on c1, my queen on d1. So when I'm able to develop them out of the back rank and my rooks connect, that's when the middle game begins. And that's what you should look forward to do. In your opening, you want to get all your pieces off the back rank and let your rooks connect. So it takes. Now, what do you do here? You have a number of ways to continue playing. You can develop your bishop down to g5. But it could be undermined by this. So that way you must be ready to take. But it's not bad, because what do you gain? You're getting your bishop off the back rank. That's what you gain. Every move you make must do something. So if you're playing a game and you ask yourself, what does my last move do? And it does nothing, you're already losing. And soon enough, it's going to be evident that you were losing many moves ago. So every move must do something. So here I have the options of playing bishop g5. What else? I could strike at the center. Now this is a backward pawn. What's a backward pawn? A pawn that has no other pawn to defend it. And the pawn is also a backward pawn when the adjacent pawn to it, the pawn by its side, has already moved. Now this one doesn't count because these pawns are here to protect the king. You don't want to move the pawns in front of your king yet. So this is a backward pawn. So another thing I want to do is to develop this pawn to e4. You see that? Controlling the center. What else do you want to do? You want to play all your pieces towards the center. So rook e1 is another candidate move. So what are the candidate moves? Bishop to g5, rook e1, or straight up e4. So you decide which one based on your plans will be the best for you. I've never crammed openings. I've learned some openings, but I never cram it. I just understand what I should be doing in the opening based on what my opponent plays. So here, I play towards the center. My opponent sees that on my next move, if he doesn't move his bishop, I could just play, say for instance, he plays something. Let's say he plays this. I'm just going to fork his bishop and knight. And I'm going to win material here. Do you see it? So, and that's why I played e4 straight away, because I see that his bishop and knight are here already. So that's why he retreats. Sorry. That's why he retreats. And now what do you want to play here? Again, look at your back rank. You have to develop towards the center and get all the pieces out of the back rank so that your rooks connect. So g5 is a good move. Though it says now, look here, you see g5 here is not the best move, right? But it's not a bad move. There's a better move. Whenever you have the opportunity to kick your pieces, for instance, if you can use a pawn to kick a piece, it's always a good. And here I think I missed the opportunity to do that because I was calculating something else, that if it comes here, I don't want this structure to later on, you know, I don't want to trade, but the computer doesn't even want you to trade, you know. Maybe it wants you to play something else like this, and maybe if it trades, this is very good for you because you get the pawn chain. But I wasn't thinking in that way. I just wanted to get all my pieces off the back rank before I start to attack, and that's why I played bishop down to g5. Now I'll tell you why this move isn't so good. Generally, if you take your piece, your minor piece, or any of your pieces to a square and your opponent can challenge it on his next move, and you're not ready to trade in that piece, then it's not the best move. Let me repeat that. If you play your piece to a square and on the next move your opponent is able to challenge it, which will make you to retreat your piece from that square, then playing it to that square isn't a good move to start with. So let me show you what I mean. So let's say on the next move, black plays h6. If I don't want to trade my bishop on g5, I have to retreat. Maybe here, or maybe here, or even maybe here. So this already tells you I'm losing tempo. Otherwise, I just need to trade him. So if I wasn't planning to trade in this bishop, then playing my bishop to g5 is an inaccuracy. But that's what I played. Now my opponent made, I think he had a mouse slip here. And later when I checked the chart, I saw that he sent me a mouse slip. But on chess.com, there's no way to have a take back. If there was a way to have take back, he would have sent me a take back, just like on Lichess, and I would have been able to accept the take back. But he has no way to take back. And by playing h5 here, that allowed me to challenge. Why did I play this move? Because look here, is knight is pinned. This is a pin. The bishop pins the knight. Why? Because taking away this knight will expose a higher valued piece to the attack of my bishop. The queen is worth 9 points and the bishop is only worth 3 points in chess. That means a queen is worth 3 bishops, and by removing this knight from here, it would expose his queen to the attack of my bishop, and I'm just going to capture. So this knight is pinned, and because I see this knight is pinned, I play pawn to e5, which would in the least gain a piece. And from here on, my opponent was maybe, he was losing already. I take, he takes, then I take this one. And here he made the move that I think wasn't the best move. It takes on my bishop. Now, it's not a very bad move because that bishop is really strong on h4, but I'm not sure, I'm not one for trading in bishops for rooks, except you're pretty sure of what you're doing. So yeah, I recapture. Now let me quickly tell you, why didn't I capture with the pawn? Because this would double my pawn. Number two, it will open his bishop here, and somewhere in future maybe he gets his queen on this, or he gets his rook on this file. Then there's going to be an attack on the h file, and I don't want that. And number two, you don't want to just expose your king now, because later when his king goes here, for instance, then you can have this attack, you see. So to avoid all of this, that's why I take with the knight, maintaining my pawn structure and still giving my king ample protection. The game continues. Now this move, he's trying to develop his queen, and what are you going to play here? You have to look at your pieces that are not developed, and you have to look at your pieces undefended. First, my pawn on b2 is undefended, but there's no way it can be attacked right now, so I'm not so bothered about that. My queen is not developed, so moves like queen to e2, which is developing the queen off the back rank and also defending the pawn on b2 works. Moves like queen to h5 also works, which is what I think I played here. Queen to h5, you see, just getting my queen to a better square, and from this square there could be a potential check here. h8, if he doesn't act and I want to trade in the queens, because I'm already leading a piece, I want to just trade in the queens. But I think he sees that, and here he does. He plays a very excellent move, protecting the h square so that my queen cannot deliver a check on his king there. It doesn't matter much anymore, because then he's just going to get his king off the back rank, but he protects that square, right? And he also simultaneously attacks d4. So what do you want to do here? You want to defend, but it's always good to attack. So if you have a choice to choose between an attacking move or a defensive move, you must always choose an attacking move. So here, but sometimes I have time constraints because I think my opponent was ahead of me on time here. Yeah, just slightly ahead, and I was bothered about time. So I'm not sure what I did. Right now I return because I want to start matching my pawns up the H file. So that's why I take this knight back to F3 to defend and clearing the path for my pawns to begin matching. My opponent plays. Now, with this move, you have to ask the question, what is it doing? Now, notice that his knight here, his knight cannot come to anywhere in the center. Can come to E5, can come to C5. So he's trying to reroute the knight. He wants the knight to take part in the game, and also he wants to free his bishop, perhaps. So this is a very good move. And what do you do here as white? First, you need to think, what can I attack? Does he have any weaknesses? Let's look at his position. There is a pawn on C4 that is unprotected. So can I attack it immediately? Well, if I move this knight to D2 to attack it, then my pawn on D4 is just unprotected and he can easily just push this and defend it. So that's just a wasted move. So I might not be able to attack this right now. What else do you do? If there's nothing to attack, you have to ask, is there something to defend? My pawn here is defended by this knight, but supposing I want to use my knight for something, maybe I want to take my knight here to G5 later on to mount an attack. You can see that attack on that pawn on this pawn right here on F7. It would mean that this pawn would be free to be captured. So maybe what you want to do now is to defend it. But then again, you have to think, is there a better move? Now, if you play this, look, your advantage doesn't drop much. So that's good. Now, this move, which is rook to D1, does two things. Number one, it centralizes your pieces. So if you do not have anything to do, there's nothing to attack in your opponent's camp, there is nothing to defend in your camp, what should you do? Play towards the center. Play towards the center. Play towards the center. So this move plays towards the center, bringing my rook to a central position to take part in the game, and also defending, adding an extra defender to my pawn on D4. Okay, but I'm not sure if that's what I played. I start matching, okay, which is also a good move. So then it develops out. Now I want to exchange. I want to exchange the queen. Why do I want to exchange the queen? If this queen is out of the picture, then my pawns can begin to match. Supported by this knight, supported by my bishop. Probably I'm just going to move the king out, bring the rook to H1, and try to see if I can queen the pawn or exchange it for a piece. So it declines. Yeah, because he's down material. If he trades his queen, his chances of mounting a comeback or even having a draw is very, very slim or dim. Now, before I play, you have to think, what can my opponent play on the next move that would pose a threat to me? Now, let's quickly have an examination of all my opponent's threats. Let me show you. Look at his bishop. He's attacking G3. You say, oh, it's defended by this pawn. Yeah, right now. And he's also X-raying this H2 square together with the queen, where there could be a checkmate, supposing everything here moves out of the way, right? So you have to be careful what pieces you're moving. That's one threat. On the next move, you could just play knight to H7, attacking my queen, and I'll have to move that queen. So I may want to move my queen out of that spot preemptively, right? So these are possible moves. Another move is to centralize my rooks. So let's see. If you play your rook to E1, you see your advantage 4.6 doesn't drop. Let's say I decide to play. You see this drops significantly. Why? Because the engine feels that you're over defending this knight this pawn, sorry, on d4, and you don't need to. It's better to develop this one. Why? Because now you're x-raying the king, and his pawns cannot move. They are not easy. And next move, you can take this. If I take this, he's unable to recapture, because then he cannot open his king to an attack of my rook. So it would have been good to play rook to e1, and that's what I did. Now he attacks my queen, and then where would you take your queen here? If you move it here, his queen captures. I mean, all these squares here, it captures. Here, he can just attack it again. So it's either you move to e3, queen to e3, queen to d2, or queen to c1. Now, you don't want to take to c1, because then you had connected your rooks before, and now they're just going to be unconnected again. You don't want to move to d2, because then I think it's less active there. You know, I think the best place would be queen to e3, and that's what I did. He plays, and now he's going to try and bring his rook here. So I'm keeping tabs on that. What are you going to play here as white? What are you going to play here? Again, what should you be thinking? Is there something to attack? Is there something to attack in his camp? Something that might become dangerous later. A piece that might become dangerous later. And then is there something to defend in my own camp? Or is there something, is there an undeveloped piece? So let me go over that again. It's either you're attacking, you're defending, or you're developing. Every move must do something. So here, let me show you potential attacks. I could play this towards the center. My knight there to e5. That's a candidate move, because I'm attacking the pawn on c4, and I'm attacking this bishop. So always attack something if you can. Now, another candidate move now will be to actually centralize the other rook. Rook to d1. And then another candidate move, maybe, just maybe, but this one is less, is bishop to f1. And I'm going to tell you why this move is the worst of all those moves. Because if you play bishop to f1, you're trying to attack this pawn, it's so easy for him to defend. And then maybe later you just have to take your bishop back. You've wasted time. So that's why that move is not good. Notice in chess, every move must gain something. It's either you're gaining material, you're gaining position, or you're gaining tempo. Tempo is time. So if you cannot gain material, you have to gain tempo. If you cannot gain tempo, you have to gain a position. Like take your piece to a position that's going to influence the game later on. Every move must do something. So here I think I played knight to e5. He attacks immediately, and here I think I blundered or made an inaccuracy. I should have taken on c3, but I think I took his bishop. And then his king is here. Maybe you want to play rook to d1. I push. Now let me look. Why did I push here? Okay, I'm going to tell you why I pushed here. I think I saw that very soon, since his king was in the center now, by pushing this, let me show you. There's a tactic here. By pushing d5, watch this tactic. If he takes, I'm going to take. If he takes, then it opens up this file. Check. Look at that. And his king is so exposed from here, it surely is winning. In fact, the computer says it is mate in 6. This was what I saw. This was the tactic I saw. And I played that pawn. Because you're just going to say, oh, but this pawn attacks your pawn twice. You know, what are you going to do if you exchange those pieces? Or maybe it's not good for you, but I can already see it's good for me. I'm going to be able to open up this D file, and I'm already X-raying this. I already have 2 pieces on the E file, so if I'm able to get my queen to take this bishop on E7, that's a check. But first I need to clear all the pawns in the way, so that's why I play D5. He takes, I take with my knight, like a seeming sacrifice, but he sees it. He sees it. And now here, what do you play? Do you take your knight back, or do you just take the bishop? Because I'm ahead, I just thought to take the bishop. But after the game, I saw that there was a line I could have played, which feels like you lose a piece, Look at this line. Queen takes a7. If he takes and says, oh, that's just a free piece, it's almost game over. Takes, you see, mate in 6. The computer says mate in 6. And where are you going to play? He can go here. He goes here, for instance, and look at this. Mate in 3. He goes here. From here, it's just going to be really, really, really bad for him. Just look at this. Now, that's even mate in 6. I could play something like, there's so many moves here. Okay, let's say I play here. Mate in 2, he goes here. And then just look at this. You know, there's not many squares now for him anymore. And I mean, this might just be, okay, he has this. And this might just be checkmate. And this is checkmate. So, but I missed it. So, we go back. We go back. I took the bishop on I took the bishop on e7. I'm just trying to play down the game since I'm leading on material. But then I made it more complicated for myself. But sometimes it's okay, because if you're not playing classical and you have just only so much time to think, you want to play good moves, fairly reasonable moves that allows you not to lose your advantage completely, but to quickly close out the game. Game continues, I take on that, and here I centralize, but you're still going to see it takes a while. Now here he's attacking my pawn. He's attacking my pawn, and I see what he wants to do. If I allow him take this, and this is free, then this becomes free. And then he's going to try and coordinate his attack on the H file. So here, what do you do? What do you do? Now, sometimes you have to take a while to reason and say, what's my plan? Your eyes always have to be on the king. And here I'm thinking, how can I just deliver a checkmate to this king? I feel like first, look at this diagonal. You can see my cursor that leads to the king. So I could just take on this pawn. Queen takes c4. Later on, maybe I can bring my bishop down to d5, creating this barrage, as it were, on the king. And that's what I was thinking. Now, I'm not afraid if he takes on g3. I'm just going to take with f takes g3, and I'm going to support my pawn, because you never want him to take the pawn on h4. Maybe he could get a perpetual. Maybe he could come in there and create, real chaos for you. So, first here, I go to the back rank, and I'm going to tell you, I was thinking of taking on c4, but lastly I thought about going to the back rank, and I'm going to tell you why. To prevent his queen from having to be able to escape through the back rank. And next, he comes here. What are you going to play here? What are you going to play here? I deliver a check. Now there's no way for him. I know he was going to either block it with his queen or with his knight. So here he blocks with, it goes away actually. I thought he blocked with his knight. It goes away. So what are you going to do here? There's a really beautiful move here. Look at this. His knight is pinned by my rook to his king. His king cannot come anywhere into the h file because my queen controls that space. So then I can actually take on e6. You say, but that's just giving away a rook. No, because when he recaptures, I'm going to pin that. I'm going to take my... Oh, wait, what happened here? I think this was where... Did he resign here? Trying to remember. Let me go back. So I take, he takes, okay, he didn't go that way. Then I play this. You can see there's no place for his queen, for his king to go. If he tries to exchange queens, say let's say he plays something like this. This is just very bad for him. Because first I'm going to take. That's one way. And when he takes, I'm going to play. I think that I've messed up the progression. If he takes this to first, I need to take this because then I open him to a check. Can you see that? And what is he going to do here? If he moves here, checkmate. So let's see how it goes. I play bishop to d5. He takes, I take, and he resigns. Because there's nothing really for him to do. All his pieces are locked up to the defense of his king. What is he going to do? If he checks, I'm just going to take. There's nothing for him to do here. And I hope you picked things up through this game. Please leave a comment on what you would like me to talk about next. If there's an area that you struggle with and you would like for me to talk about that in my next video, please leave a comment. Please like the video, share the video, subscribe to my channel, and turn on the notification button. I would see you soon, chess lovers. And from me, for now, it's bye.